A young man named Max introduces Annie, his childhood friend. She was always by his side during every important moment of his life. Their bond grew stronger as they grew up, and eventually their friendship turned into love. But on Max's 19th birthday, tragedy struck. While they were driving together, their car crashed. Annie died in the accident, and Max was sentenced to prison for involuntary manslaughter. Life behind bars was brutal. Max had to pay other inmates for protection, with money his grandmother scraped together to send him. But when the payment stopped, the beatings began. One day, the prisoners shoved him into a washing machine and left him spinning for an hour. When he stumbled out, he thought he was going to die. Instead, he felt strangely free. Standing up, he cracked a joke, and to his surprise, everyone cheered. From that day on, Max grew stronger, training and eventually becoming a fighter in prison. Not long after, his plea deal was accepted, and thanks to good behavior, he was released early. Inmates applauded as he walked out. Outside, his father, Rafa, was waiting. Rafa warned Max that a war was coming and insisted he join him in a bunker. At first, Max refused, bitter about their broken relationship. But after much pleading, he reluctantly agreed. They were flown to Chimera, a massive bunker built inside an ancient cavern beneath a lake. Their belongings were confiscated, and they were given uniforms and health monitoring bracelets. Max was shocked to see both his mother, Frida, and his grandmother waiting for him inside. Later, he ran into Annie's father, Gurmo. Max apologized, and though Gurmo softened and invited him to join their family for lunch, Annie's sister Asia remained cold and bitter. At the table, Max's grandmother refused to stand for the buffet, so Gurmo told the staff she was sick with cancer, convincing them to serve her instead. During the meal, Asia lashed out, demanding to know why Max had fled the accident scene. Tension rose until others stepped in to calm her down. Soon after, the bunker's administrator addressed everyone, explaining the rules of their new life. But behind the scenes, Gurmo confessed to his wife Mimi that he still hated Max. He admitted he had married her while grieving for his late daughter and wife, and not out of love. Later, Max tried to speak to Asia, but she was furious and dismissed him. He gave her his phone, and back in her room, she watched old videos of Max and Annie together. Just then, the bunker shook violently. An announcement ordered everyone to move to the dome. Asia rushed to find her father. With Max and Rafa helping, they brought Gurmo to safety. Inside the dome, live footage revealed devastation outside, the aftermath of a nuclear explosion. Soon after, the screen went black. As they processed the horror, Rafa revealed the truth about the accident years ago. Max had run away because Rafa told him to. Worse, Rafa admitted he had testified against his own son in court, which led to Max's 3-year sentence. Frida, furious, declared she had never loved him. Power returned, and a team was sent outside to restore communications. The cameras showed a bleak, radiation-soaked wasteland. One man, Luca, was burned when his glove melted, exposing him to radiation before stumbling back inside. The feed was cut, but in the control room, the truth was revealed. The explosion was nothing but a simulation. The world outside was perfectly fine. Everything the residents had seen, the collapse, the destruction, the footage, had been carefully staged. The bunker's leaders had orchestrated the illusion step by step. Later, Max tried to comfort his mother with food, reassuring her that life would go on. Rafa, stung by Frida's harsh words, broke down, while Gurmo tried to console him, saying her anger came from pain, not hate. Meanwhile, Asia kept replaying Annie's old messages. Suddenly, she heard choking from another room. Breaking in, she found a woman trying to hang herself. Asia cut the rope just in time, but the woman resented being saved. Soon after, Minerva, the administrator, announced it was safe to return to their apartments. Back in the control room, Minerva and her team worked on Luca, making his body look ravaged by radiation. That night, Rafa tried to sleep beside Frida, but she pushed him away, saying she wanted a divorce. Crushed, Rafa accused her of betrayal. She admitted she was in love with her yoga teacher and packed to stay with her mother. Later, a hungry Rafa stormed into the dining hall. When security tried to stop him, Max intervened and fought the guards, overpowering one before Minerva finally ordered them to stand down. Elsewhere, Mimi and Gurmo reflected on their strained marriage. Gurmo confessed life was happier before they wed, when she was only his lover. Mimi suggested a divorce might rekindle their passion. In her room, Asia stumbled upon an intimate video Max had once sent Annie. Disturbed, she left to shower. Meanwhile, guards came for Mimi, confirming her rare blood type and escorting her away. Asia tried to follow but was stopped. When Max approached and asked about the videos, Asia admitted she couldn't bear to watch them and claimed she had destroyed the SIM card. In truth, Mimi had been taken to donate blood for Luca's surgery. The entire scene was staged to spread more fear. Afterward, she saw Luca vomiting blood and was shaken to her core. Outside, she confided in Asia, who realized the grim truth. They were trapped with no way out. Meanwhile, cracks began to show among the conspirators. Julia, one of them, panicked and threatened to expose everything unless she was released. Minerva tried to calm her, even kissing her, but Julia pushed her away. Their argument escalated until Minerva's unstable brother Zero shoved Julia to her death. The next morning, Julia's body was discovered. Although Garcia demanded security footage, the recording falsely showed her jumping by herself. At the same time, Frida told her mother she wanted to rebuild her life, without Rafa, and repair their own strained relationship. Minerva called an emergency meeting, declaring that Luca had died from radiation and Julia had taken her own life. She announced strict rationing and publicly scolded Rafa for his behavior. Turning to Max, she accused him of fighting guards and demanded he return the taser he had taken. Meanwhile, Asia grew suspicious of the bunker systems. Pretending she had dropped her sister's bracelet, she convinced a staff member to escort her to the restricted waste disposal area. Secretly, she retrieved Annie's old phone, which she had once thrown away. Elsewhere, Max clashed with guard Yako, who demanded the taser back. They decided to settle it with a brutal fight. Yako overpowered him at first, but Max struck a decisive blow, knocking him unconscious. Yako was rushed to the infirmary. Asia confronted Max, who admitted what he had done and feared he had killed him. She also noticed his dislocated shoulder from the fight and reset it despite the pain. Minerva dragged Asia to check on Yako, and with her quick thinking, Asia stabilized his condition and saved his life. Meanwhile, Guillermo's phone kept receiving urgent calls from an old friend, Oswaldo, pressing him about a deal 20 years in the making. To stall, Minerva's team created a virtual replica of Guillermo to answer. During the call, Oswaldo revealed details Roxanne, the AI, couldn't predict. Flustered, they cut the connection. Later, Max confronted Asia about abandoning him mid-treatment. She lashed out, calling him a monster who had ruined her family's life. She said she hated him, but deep inside, she was fighting her growing feelings for him. She walked away, leaving Max torn. The team kept trying to decipher Oswaldo's message. He had mentioned BJ3, but Roxanne couldn't figure out what it meant. Under stress, Minerva recalled her past. At just 12 years old, she went to pick up her younger brother, Zero, who was being bullied. Furious after seeing an R scrawled on his uniform, she attacked his tormentors. Back home, they discovered their mother had abandoned them, leaving behind a note saying she couldn't be a mother anymore. Social services tried to separate them because of Zero's disorder, but the siblings sabotaged the workers' car to ensure they stayed together. Misfits in every environment, they poured themselves into education, earning degree after degree. Despite Minerva's well-paying job, she realized the rich always gained more. While corporations made billions, she barely earned thousands. That's when she decided to build a bunker and make the wealthy pay for it. In the present, Roxanne uncovered a possible lead. An announcer once called Guillermo's horse BJ, but Zero doubted Oswaldo was referring to a horse, since they were discussing a €1.4 billion deal, not a €40 million animal. Still, Minerva suggested Orduno might want to humiliate Guillermo by taking his prized horse. Unsure, they decided to risk answering Oswaldo's call. The Guillermo replica pretended to be offended by the suggestion of selling the horse, only to discover that was exactly what Oswaldo meant. Relieved, they played along and Guillermo agreed. Oswaldo asked about the horse's passport and the safe's combination. The replica told him to call again from home the next day, then ended the call. At the bar, Guillermo, Rafa, Elena, and staff member Ingrid celebrated with champagne. Secretly, Ingrid was trying to gain his trust and extract the safe's combination. Meanwhile, Max found an earpiece Yako had dropped during their fight. Slipping it on, he overheard Rafa and the others, but the surveillance team quickly cut the audio. A staff member confiscated it and escorted him to the infirmary. While treating Yako, AIA was surprised when he asked her out to thank her for saving his life. Later, Asia encountered Tio, the staffer who had helped her retrieve Annie's phone. Emotional, she asked him for a hug. Minerva watched from the surveillance room, observing every move. Back at the bar, Ingrid drew Guillermo into conversation while Rafa bonded with Elena. Suddenly, Max pounded on the door and Rafa let him in. Max, suspicious, realized their bracelets contained microphones. He demanded a drink, and when staffer Cindy arrived, Guillermo left with Ingrid. She lured him to the director's office, offering him a hidden drink and pushing the conversation further. Elsewhere, Frida told Mimi she had seen Guillermo with Ingrid, curtains drawn, looking intimate. Upset, Mimi decided to confront him. Frida and her mother followed, and Ingrid was warned they were on their way. Thinking fast, Ingrid set up a game. Guillermo would write answers to her questions, and she would guess if he was lying. If she lost, she promised him something exciting. With Mimi and the others minutes away, Minerva cut the power, trapping them in the elevator. Ingrid pressed Guillermo for the safe combination. Pretending reluctance, he recited numbers without writing them down. Roxanne flagged a 63% chance of truth. Guillermo confirmed, claiming he never writes passwords. Before things escalated, Mimi forced open the elevator doors, fire extinguisher in hand. She accused Guillermo of manipulating her, thanked him for giving her clarity, and walked away, determined to leave him for good. Meanwhile, Rafa and Elena grew closer. Asia continued watching Anna's videos, and Max bonded with Cindy. But Guillermo caught Asia watching her sister's phone. Furious, he stormed into Max's room and beat him, accusing him of pursuing Asia. Frida intervened, striking Guillermo with a vase. Bleeding, he apologized to her. In a shocking twist, Frida embraced and kissed him, revealing he was the man she loved. Now free from their marriages, she suggested they be together. Later, the team gathered to discuss their next steps. Garcia argued they should just tell Oswaldo that Guillermo didn't want to sell his daughter's horse. But Minerva disagreed. Plan A: crack the safe. If that failed, Plan B: feign Guillermo's anger at the suggestion of selling the horse. If Plan A worked, they could move on to the larger scheme, making major financial decisions in Guillermo's name, then slowly extending control to others as well. Meanwhile, Mimi, feeling nauseous, was haunted by flashbacks of Guillermo. She took the elevator down to the dome. Elsewhere, Asia approached Max to apologize. He lashed out, accusing her and her family of clinging to the past. Coldly, he said he felt nothing but hate toward her and reminded her that she had always mocked her sister's love for him as superficial. He walked away, leaving Asia shaken. Returning to her room, Asia fell ill, overwhelmed by reflection, and finally realized she had always been in love with Max. At Guillermo's house, Oswaldo asked for the 8-digit safe code. The team only had 7 numbers, but they gambled by giving them anyway. Oswaldo realized the number was Annie's birthday and filled in the missing digit himself. With the safe open, the replica instructed Oswaldo to purchase a young company in Bangkok. It was a unicorn valued at over 1 billion euros. Minerva's vision was to start more such companies worth around 850 million euros with untraceable funding. Back in the bunker, Rafa returned in the morning. When Max asked where he had been, Rafa admitted he'd slept with Elena. Max told him his relationship with Frida had never been real and urged him to move on. Later, Max confronted Minerva directly about the microphones and cameras. She defended the surveillance, saying no one knew how long they would be trapped and order had to be maintained. As she spoke, Max discreetly hooked his foot on a plug and pulled it, knocking her laptop to the ground. While she was distracted, he swiped a book from the shelf. Down in the dome, Mimi grew worse. Feeling suffocated, she tore at her clothes and collapsed, unable to breathe. At the same time, Frida and Guillermo grew more intimate. Guards noticed a television switched on in the dome and spotted Mimi lying on the floor. Minerva rushed to her with Yako, then informed Asia. In the infirmary, Asia relayed Mimi's symptoms to Roxanne for diagnosis. The AI listed 76 possible illnesses. Asia provided blood and urine samples, and Roxanne finally narrowed it down: hepatic encephalopathy. Asia was stunned. She asked about dialysis, but Roxanne confirmed there was no machine and no alternatives. Soon Guillermo arrived. Asia told him Mimi's liver was failing. Antibiotics might buy time, but if her body didn't respond, she would die within 72 hours. Guillermo later apologized to Max for beating him. Understanding the pressure he was under, Max forgave him. Guillermo confided his fear of losing Mimi, and Max reassured him they would find a way. He then approached Asia and quietly asked her to walk with him. Max pulled out a stack of cards, each with messages written on them, telling her to play along because they were being listened to. He discreetly pointed to the bracelet, signaling where the microphone was. On the cards, he explained that he had asked Minerva about going outside to get a dialysis machine, but she had refused. Out loud, however, they staged a conversation as if they were confessing their love, pretending to finally give in to their feelings. The guards monitoring the audio were convinced the two were romantically involved, not conspiring. Secretly, Max suggested disabling the security system first, then shutting down Roxanne. They agreed to meet in an hour, with Asia tasked to bring surgical tape and a Bluetooth speaker. Later, Asia checked on Mimi, who seemed a little better. Meanwhile, Guillermo's replica contacted Oswaldo about the new investment. Though skeptical, Oswaldo agreed to start negotiations at 720 million euros, not exceeding 850 million euros. Max warned Rafa to stay quiet about Asia coming to his room. In return, Rafa revealed a secret. The night of Anna's death, he had been following Max because he was drunk. By the time he arrived, Anna was already dead. Guillermo then pressured Rafa to testify against Max. When Rafa refused, Guillermo threatened to have Max killed. Shocked, Max finally understood why he had never trusted his father. Elsewhere, Victoria comforted Mimi by offering her a cigarette, then applied a morphine patch to her neck. While playing basketball, Guillermo confided in Frida. He said his priorities were his daughter first, then friendship, then love, meaning he couldn't go public with their relationship. Disappointed, Frida kissed him and told him it would be the last time unless he changed his priorities. Back in Max's room, Asia joined him. To fool Roxanne, Max turned on loud music, pretending they were about to be intimate. Beneath the cover of noise, he shared his plan to reach the surface and get the dialysis machine. Asia confessed that when she said she hated him, she hadn't meant it. Max then revealed he had once found an emergency exit in the ceiling. All they needed was a distraction. Asia replied that she knew how to make a bomb. Together, they began plotting to shut down Roxanne, though Asia grew increasingly distracted by Max's closeness. Meanwhile, Oswaldo visited the startup office for the investment. Finding it generic, he called Guillermo to complain. He revealed someone else had already made a better offer. Luca, the guard everyone believed was dead. At the same time, Max and Asia drilled into Roxanne's system, finally disabling it. Communication between Guillermo and Oswaldo was abruptly cut. On Oswaldo's screen, Roxanne's name appeared, leaving him baffled. He vowed to pull out. Back in the bunker, chaos spread. Mimi's condition worsened. Despite Asia's efforts, she died. Devastated, Asia told Max there was no reason to escape anymore. But Max insisted he had to. To stop him, she confessed her love. He called her precious, but said he would return for her. Mask on, he entered the elevator. Meanwhile, in Bangkok, Oswaldo realized he had been scammed. Luca and Ingrid ambushed him. Luca snapped his neck and took his phone. Finally, Max reached the surface world. So that's it. Hope you enjoy the story. Subscribe and press the bell icon for more videos.